Nature has built almost everything you can imagine. Animals that can survive being frozen, boiled, and thrown into outer space. Fish that generate their own electricity. Lizards that literally shoot blood out of their eyes. Jellyfish that technically never have to die. And octopuses that taste everything they touch with their arms. But there is one creature nature simply refused to build, so humans invented it anyway. We call it a dragon. When you picture a dragon, you probably see the Western version, a giant winged reptile breathing fire. But look at the monsters dreamed up that never touched each other. A serpent dragon winding through ancient China, a feathered snake god in the Americas, a rainbow serpent in Australia, a fire-breathing lizard in medieval Europe. The details shift from place to place. Underneath, though, people kept reaching for the same handful of parts: the scales and bulk of a giant reptile, the coiling body of a snake, and the raw menace of a great predator. The same monster invented from scratch on continent after continent. Evolution had 4 billion years and a whole planet to work with. It came close to a dragon more than once. So why did it never happen? And stranger still, why did humans invent it anyway? That answer isn't about the animals at all. It's about you. Start with the fire, because that's the part that sounds the most impossible. And weirdly, it's the part nature got closest to. There's an insect called the bombardier beetle. When something threatens it, it mixes two chemicals, hydrogen peroxide and a compound called hydroquinone, inside a tiny armored chamber in its abdomen. The reaction is so violent, it heats the liquid to nearly 212 degrees Fahrenheit, the temperature of boiling water, and blasts it out the back with a sound like a pop gun. It can swivel the tip of its abdomen to aim and fire that spray around 20 times in a row at whatever's trying to eat it. That is the closest thing to a flamethrower in the entire animal kingdom. And it still isn't fire. It's boiling spray, not a flame. In fact, no animal we know of ever evolved a way to set something on fire. So already, the single most famous dragon feature is the one nature flatly refused to sign off on. Now, the body. We actually have an animal we named after the myth itself, the Komodo dragon. It's the largest lizard alive today, about 10 feet long, the length of a small car, with a venomous bite that can take down prey far bigger than itself. But the Komodo is a leftover. Its ancestors were much worse. Until around 50,000 years ago, Australia was home to a monitor lizard called Megalania. It could reach anywhere from 18 feet to even 23 feet long. A venomous reptile longer than a car, and the first humans who reached Australia very likely shared the land with it. That's not a dragon, but it's a real reptile big enough to pass for one. Then there's flight. And there is a lizard alive right now that flies, sort of. It's called Draco, and it lives in the forests of Southeast Asia. Those wings didn't come from nowhere. It took the ribs inside its own chest, stretched them way out to the sides, and pulled a flap of skin across them like a folding fan. It leaps off a tree, those ribs open, and glides as far as 200 feet to the next trunk. That's 2/3 of a football field. Draco didn't grow new limbs, it just built a wing out of the bones it already had. In the last days of the dinosaurs, around 68 million years ago, the sky belonged to Quetzalcoatlus, a flying reptile with a 36-foot wingspan, as tall as a giraffe when it folded up and stood on the ground, weighing somewhere near 550 pounds. A living creature the size of a small plane that got into the air by vaulting off its own arms like a pole vaulter, and then actually flew. So, every piece of a dragon already exists, or used to exist. Nature just never let one animal have them all at once. And that isn't bad luck. There are hard reasons. The first one is hiding in plain sight on the Welsh flag. A classic Western dragon has 4 legs and 2 wings, 6 limbs total. Every animal with a backbone traces back to the same 4-limbed fish that first crawled out of the water. 4 limbs. That's the starting kit. When a bird flies, its wings are its arms. Bats did the same thing. So did those giant pterosaurs. To grow wings, a backbone animal has to give up its front legs and rebuild them. You can have arms, or you can have wings. Nature does not hand out both. A 4-legged, 2-winged dragon needs a body plan no backbone animal has ever had. The second reason is pure size. Make any animal twice as long and it becomes roughly 8 times as heavy, but its bones and muscles only get about 4 times as strong. Scale a creature up far enough and its own weight begins to crush it. Quetzalcoatlus was already scraping against the absolute ceiling for how big a thing can get and still haul itself off the ground. A dragon the size of a house isn't just a bigger Quetzalcoatlus, it's a pile of snapped bones that never leaves the cliff edge. The third reason loops back to the fire. Flying is the most metabolically expensive thing an animal can do. There is nothing left in that budget to also run a furnace in your chest. The dragon isn't blocked by one rule. It's blocked by all of them at once, stacked on top of each other. So why did everyone draw one? There are two leading ideas. The first is bones. Long before anyone knew what a dinosaur was, people were digging enormous fossils out of the ground. A historian named Adrian Mayer traced one case. Scythian gold miners crossing the Gobi Desert kept unearthing skeletons of a beaked, four-legged creature we now call Protoceratops. They had no concept of an extinct animal, so they rebuilt those bones in their minds into a guardian beast, and that became the griffin. In China, the fossils people dug up were called dragon bones. All over the planet, humans found giant skeletons in the dirt and invented monsters to explain them. The second idea is darker. An anthropologist named David E. Jones noticed that vervet monkeys have 3 separate alarm calls for big cats, eagles, and snakes. Those 3 animals hunted primates for millions of years. Jones's idea is that the fear of all 3 got burned so deep into our brains that they melted together into one image: the fangs of a great cat, the wings of an eagle, the coiling body of a snake. Put those together and you've built a dragon. It explains not just why we invented a monster, but why we kept inventing this exact one, the same parts bolted together on every continent by people who had never spoken to each other. The dragon was never actually an animal. Every piece of it is real: the fire, the size, the wings, the fear. But the assembly never happened in the wild. It happened in here. The dragon is the shape your ancestors' nightmares took when every predator that ever wanted to eat them got stitched into a single body. Nature never made a dragon, but we did.